I'm so excited to tell you about Inclusive Neuroverse, a clothing line started by an amazing 7-year-old boy who has autism and ADHD. Their mission? To promote autism acceptance through unique designs overflowing with love. Each piece celebrates neurodiversity and spreads awareness in style. Join the movement today and show your support for understanding and inclusivity. Visit inclusiveneuroverse.com now and make sure you use code QUIETConnection, all one word, all uppercase, at checkout for a 15% discount. Hi, welcome to Quiet Connection, a podcast dedicated to ending the stigma around postpartum mental health. I'm Chelsea. This week, I'm chatting with Jen about her experiences as a single mother coping with complex PTSD and major depression disorder. We discuss her healing journey, the challenges of pregnancy, raising a child with complex needs, and how mental health affects her parenting in general. She reflects on her career transitions and the development of My Moody Monster, which serves as a therapeutic outlet for safely expressing big emotions. Here's Jen. Hello. Today I'm here with Jen. Jen, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Chelsea. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing good. It's been a long time coming for me and Jen. I make the joke a lot that podcasting with guests is just a constant revolving door of scheduling and rescheduling.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad that we finally made it. We're here.
We are.
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk to you. There are so many things that drew me to you and to your story. And I won't just list them all off because that would be boring. I will ask you the question that I ask all of my guests. I'd love it if you could tell me a little bit about who you are now and who you were before you were a parent.
Yes, absolutely. So I am a single mom of 2 boys, and I live with complex PTSD and major depressive disorder from childhood trauma. And throughout the years, I pushed off my healing journey until one day my brain said, right now is when you need to do this.
Yeah.
And, that was a real turning point for me. And it actually brought along a lot of healing, doing different modalities of healing, and also brought me to create my plush doll. It's called My Moody Monster. And that came directly from my own frustrations with my complex PTSD, and also a wish that I had had something like it when my son was really little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was one of the things that caught my eye. As a former special educator, an intensive needs special educator, I saw what you were doing, not only for yourself, but for your son. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool resource. And it's such a impactful way to sort of process your own trauma at the same time. So we're definitely going to get into that at some point. What kind of things bring you joy? What kind of things fill your cup and replenish, your energy, your soul, your whatever you want to call it?
I love helping others. I really do. And I think it does stem from my childhood because I became that person who took care of everyone, but it became a love language. Giving is definitely something that makes me feel so good. And I think that's why Moody is so important to me, because it gives me that, rush when I know that they're helping kids with their emotions.
Yeah. Moody is going to be tagged in your show notes, and I'll remind listeners at the end as well, but wholly adorable. I also am I'm super quirky, so I love things that aren't like a mainstream teddy bear or a mainstream doll or things Moody is so quirky and cute, and my glasses are fogging up. So listeners, this is reminder number 1, check the show notes because I think you're going to like Moody. But going backwards again a little bit, You did experience complex PTSD. You did have a history of mental health challenges. How did parenting sort of play into that? What was becoming a parent part of your life plan?
It actually really wasn't for a long time. I even had said to my husband before we were married that I wasn't sure if I wanted to have children. And I think it stemmed from the fear that I wouldn't be a good parent because I didn't have, a childhood that gave me joy and a good connection with parents.
Mm-hmm.
So it was scary when I did actually one day say to myself, I think I want a baby. And my
Yeah.
husband was fine with it. He was good with it. And that fear comes from the childhood trauma, going through something so difficult and trauma on a regular basis as a child. And I didn't really have an idea of what really parenting was because I was a child living in fear constantly. I didn't know if children could live without fear in their lives.
That resonates with me. I can understand that. Was it kind of a light bulb moment? Like just one day, it was just like, I think maybe I want to try this? Or was it really a decision that was discussed and thought out a lot?
I think it stemmed from seeing my friends have babies and
Yeah.
holding their babies. I think that was one of the things that really tugged at my heart. Like, oh, look at this beautiful soul, and how I, would love to have a beautiful soul that I could share my life with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I think that's the case for a lot of us when we become parents. You have two children.
Yes.
Going back to your first, what was that journey like? How was your pregnancy? Did you have any like fears throughout your pregnancy? What did that journey look like for you?
Well, at first, finding out that I was pregnant was amazing. And then I started to bleed.
Mm,
And I had a lot of bleeding in my first 3 months. And so I was terrified that anything I did would cause me to miscarry.
mm-hmm.
And so I was very hush hush about the pregnancy. And I told my mother, and then of course my mother went around telling people not only
Of
that I was
course.
pregnant but that I was also bleeding. And I think she did that because my mother works in medical, so I think she was doing that to get other people's opinions of what that means. But it didn't
Mm-hmm.
help me because I was thinking the whole time, you're telling people I'm pregnant and I may not be.
Yeah.
Something could happen. And then we have to tell everyone I don't have a baby anymore, right?
Yeah.
So that was really scary. But once the bleeding stopped, I had a couple of weeks. I had a couple of weeks where everything was going pretty well. And then I started having a lot of pain. And I was having, it was very uncomfortable. And what I found out was that I had a lot of fibroids that were growing
Mm,
as my child was growing. And it was causing me to go into pre-labor. So around 18 weeks, I was on bed rest.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. And anytime I got up and moved around for more than like 15, 20 minutes, I would start to have pre-labor.
Mm,
So that was terrifying in itself as well. So, here I am, a child of abuse and not having someone really who could help me. My mother is a great human being. She really is, but she doesn't have she's not very suave, I'll tell you that much. She's a very she's very to the point. She's very, she can be very difficult to manage at times, especially back then, because all she wanted to do was do for me. And all I really needed was to be able to relax and let my body do what it needed to do. So if I even got up for 15 minutes, it would start up again. And I
yeah.
remember he was born in March, and in December, I I was really, really depressed. I actually wasn't even on my antidepressants any longer because I couldn't be. I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so depressed, and I was like, I'm going to decorate for Christmas.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
something in my head was just like, I'm going to get up and decorate for Christmas. And that was the first time that I had it really bad, that I had to go to the hospital.
Ugh.
And yeah, so it was this constant back and forth of, you can't do anything. You can't get up and be active. And, you don't have your medication, your depression medication. And you're thinking this whole time this child could end up getting hurt or come early and be premature. And then what happens? So constantly going through my mind the whole time, what if, what if, what if, what if? Which is definitely
Yeah.
not helpful to a pregnant woman who can't stand up and walk around.
No. What got you through those moments? Did you just have to soldier through, or did you have any coping skills that you were able to use to kind of pass the time or get you through those minute to minute, hour to hour moments?
Yeah, well, this was 2004. So, I mean, we didn't really have a lot of ways to get online, that kind of thing.
No, there we weren't streaming on
No,
Netflix.
no,
We
no,
weren't
no.
no.
I got into the soap operas, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
Laying in
So
bed watching soap
TV.
operas, yep, with my cat and dog. And, just trying to keep my mind off of my pregnancy, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Had you had any sort of like therapy or like CBT or DBT or anything like that prior? Because like you said, you have a history with mental health. Any of those tools in your toolbox that you could utilize at that point?
I did have my therapist. And
That's
so,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I had my therapist, and I'd had her since college. So I knew her. She knew me really, really well. And it was just important for me to keep in touch with her.
Yeah.
But, if we go back a little ways towards, my trauma, when my abuser left home, we were happy that he had left home, but they wanted to put him in prison for what he
Mm,
had done. And so we had to go into the court system. And I'll tell you, that was a whole other trauma.
yeah.
And by the end of all of that, I was just starting college, and I kept saying, not yet to healing, and not
Yeah.
yet to looking at that trauma, because I'm like, hey, I'm going into college. And then it became, not yet I have a career. And then not yet I'm, married, I'm traveling, that kind of thing. So I kept putting off that healing and looking at that trauma. So I really didn't have a lot of skills available in my toolbox. I really didn't have a toolbox. The toolbox was pretty much gone because I didn't have my antidepressants.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest part of all, because I had been on antidepressants since I think I was 14, 15, and they
Yeah.
had
That's a
helped
huge
me.
shift.
Yeah, that had helped me. So let's see, I was on meds for 15 years before I got pregnant. Then you have to take it away.
Yeah.
And that was my main form of coping, I guess, was having my chemicals, dialed into what I needed them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, especially for listeners who are either pregnant or newly postpartum, like fears and anxieties are common in pregnancy. And especially if you're having like a high risk pregnancy or complications or whatnot. But like add on top of that, PTSD, CPTSD, trauma in general, and then not being able to have the one thing that has helped you throughout, yeah, that's gonna make an impact on your pregnancy experience and just life experience in general. So were you on bed rest up until the birth?
Yes. Yep, I
Yeah.
was. I was better able to spend my time. I knew how long I could stand up before I had to lay down again, before things happened. But I did go through a series of, like, every few days, it felt like I was going into labor.
Yeah.
And the labor, when it actually came, that was also very traumatic as well. My water had broken, but I was not in labor, which is so weird,
Mm.
because my body for so long was like, you're going to be in labor. If you get up, you're going to you're going to be in labor. And it did the exact opposite. So they had to, push the labor along with meds. And that was in itself a very traumatic event as well.
Yeah, you had mentioned that your birth experience was traumatic for you. And again, I'm reiterating for listeners, like when we talk about birth trauma, if you feel that your birth was traumatic, you had a traumatic birth experience.
Yeah.
There is no, it's not a comparison game. It's not a, it's like if you're listening to this story, or if you've listened to other stories and you're like, well, I guess it wasn't that bad for me. Like, no, if you feel like it was traumatic, it was a traumatic experience. Do you feel comfortable talking about that at all? About
Sure.
your birth experience?
Sure. It was just a lot of, pain. I think
Yeah.
is there was a lot of pain involved with it because, and also psychologically, I'd been preparing myself for this to happen when it shouldn't.
Right.
So this whole time I was like, I can't let the child go. I can't let the baby go. It has to stay with me. And then suddenly saying, no, now he needs to leave, and then him not wanting to vacate.
Which is so, I like when you said it, I was like, what the heck, dude?
Right?
Like, you wanted to come out for so long and now you're like, nah, I guess I'll hang.
Right, right. Yeah. So it was a very long and stretched out birth. And, I had an episiotomy as well. And that
Mm,
was not exactly, very helpful for the pain. And I wasn't asked for, if I wanted, she just kind of did it. And so that in itself felt, I'd been attacked
yeah.
almost, that the doctor knows that what she's doing is right. But, also she knew I had trauma.
Yeah.
She knew that I was having a very difficult, whole 9 months of this. And for her to just do it without asking or, telling me, just that in itself was just so scary to me. It really brought up my PTSD symptoms.
I can't imagine. That's one of the many things that we're fighting for right now in the maternal mental health and the just maternal health world is informed consent. And you had that completely taken away from you. You had your power taken away from you in a very, very vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I cannot imagine the trauma that would have brought up. When he was born, what was going through your mind?
Thank God, I think was the first because
Yeah.
he was healthy. He was crying. He was a good size. So all the things that I thought were important for a child when they first are born, it seemed as though everything was perfect.
Mhm.
I definitely had that, like I threw myself back, I think, and just cried for a while.
Yeah.
Especially while they were taking care of him, I just had to let it all out at that point.
Yeah.
And it was cathartic to be able to have that one good like cry that was probably building up for those like 6 months or so that I'd been sitting waiting for something to happen, just to get that
Right.
cathartic kind of scream cry out.
Yeah. And then, well, and so you said like everything seemed okay at first. Like, was he okay? Were you okay? Was he? And when I say okay, there's so many layers to that, obviously, right? Like
Right.
in terms of the 10 fingers, 10 toes, everybody's breathing. Sounds like you guys were okay. Mentally, were you okay after what had just happened to you?
I think all the hormones flooding, all that kind of stuff, it brought about so many different feelings. I think the biggest one was relief, though, that
Yeah.
I had done my duty and I had kept this child in for as long as I possibly could, and that he was safe and he was whole and he was, you know, healthy
Yeah. Yeah.
physically.
And it is it speaks a lot to that transition into motherhood and with the birth of your child is the birth of a mother and a parent and I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I can relate to that, that your mind immediately goes to, okay, is he okay? Is she okay? Am I okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right, right, that relief,
Yeah.
that one that just
Yes.
that feeling of relief that comes over you that, okay, everything that was supposed to go right pretty much went right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit and then
Mhm.
come back. But knowing your experience through pregnancy, through this first pregnancy, and knowing how it affected your mental health and knowing how the birth also was very traumatic, how did that impact your decision to have another child?
It's interesting. I knew about a year later or so that I knew that I wanted to have another child. I did not want him to be on his own. But that doesn't mean that that would be a wrong decision. Like,
Right.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I know my husband wanted another child, and he wanted one sooner than later. He didn't want them
Mm-hmm.
to have a long, they don't for their ages to be too far apart. And I understood that. And I think I went into the second one just praying that it wasn't going to be the same as the first. And it wasn't actually. It went really, really well the
Oh,
second
good.
time. Yeah. You'd think that, you had it happen once, it's going to happen again. No fibroids grew, nothing. And I had to
Wow.
make him get out. I went to the mall like a day before they say we're going to induce you. I went to the mall and I walked for like 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
He just did not want to leave. But
Yeah.
I finally felt that it was time and went to the hospital, and it was a much quicker, birth, and it went the opposite direction of my first. It was crazy.
Yeah, we say this all the time, that especially in the birth realm, but like in life in general, like just because something happens one way one time does not mean that that's the way that it's always going. I mean, sometimes it can, and sometimes you're predispositioned to things and this, that, and the other thing, but like don't judge your entire future based off of what's happening right now in this moment. And as I'm saying that out loud, that's me like reminding myself.
Right?
Yeah, like I'm going to be fully transparent and say like I am telling myself that message as well. But so yeah, so we're your kids are close in age. So there wasn't a huge age gap. I guess I'm curious too, like what was your medication journey like at that point? Did you get back on the medication or you stayed off the medication?
I stayed off the medication, which,
Yeah.
looking back at it, well, I did a year of breastfeeding.
Mhm.
And so I did not want to, I don't think I could. I am remembering way back to 2004, but I don't think that I could get back on it if I was breastfeeding.
Mhm.
And so just realizing if we're going to have another child, getting on is going to take more time to get back into the groove of it than taking it away again. So I just went without. And that was a choice.
Mhm.
It was a
Yeah.
choice. It was probably not the greatest choice for me, but I did it. I made that choice. And, so the second time around, I had the experience, and the expectation of what was going to happen again from the first one never happened.
Mhm.
So I learned to be able to let go and enjoy my pregnancy.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that you had that experience. Yeah, and that's kind of like a hot button topic right now too, with being medicated while pregnant or medicated while breastfeeding. And honestly, like again, I don't ever promote anything. I just say consult with your physician.
Yeah.
But I also say there's no shame in the med game. So you've got to weigh out your pros and cons, and it's a very personal decision. And again, I'm thankful that your second pregnancy journey was so different so that you were able to breathe and and enjoy it.
It's so funny.
Um
My friends on the second time around, they came in to see my second son, And I guess I was just so high on whatever adrenalines or, that kind of thing. And I was already saying, I want a third, I want another, I
Oh
want
my
another
gosh.
right then and there. And they were like, what are you talking about? Why are you saying this? You just had a baby like 2 hours ago.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
like, everything was different. It
Mhm.
was so, yeah, absolutely. If you have a difficult pregnancy and birth, sure, that was what happened. But again, I'm living proof that you can have a completely opposite time of things the next time around.
Yeah. Just sticking in the vein of mental health at this point, when your guys were little, in
Mm.
those first couple of years, um, they say that postpartum lasts 2 years. I say postpartum, you're postpartum. If you have a kid, you are postpartum for, like, that's my opinion. But what were those first few years like as a new mom, especially with an infant and a toddler?
Mhm.
Like, oh, super mom. Like, I know that almost feels like the cheesiest thing in the world to say, but, like, I am fully admitting I could not do that. Like, what
Yeah,
was that like?
it was interesting. Let's go back to my first son.
Yeah.
He didn't sleep.
Mm.
He did not have a good time of things. He had terrible explosive poops, and he was very
Mm,
he wasn't he just yeah he just was constantly in pain, and I used to blame myself because it was my milk,
mm.
that kind of thing. Like, I was giving more skim milk than full milk, and he was getting sick a lot, and he was not sleeping. He would maybe sleep 15 minutes and then wake up again
Ugh.
and scream. And my husband and I were so tired. We had such sleep deprivation that one day I was in the bathroom and my husband said, "Do not come into the bedroom." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "There is a humongous spider on our wall." There was no spider. He
Oh my
was
gosh.
we were so sleep deprivated that we were hallucinating.
Oh my gosh.
And at one point, I was eating dinner and I literally fell asleep into my plate.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was not a sleeper at all. And we tried, staying with him to sleep. We tried, eventually we tried the, let him cry it out type method, which was awful, very
Yeah.
hard to deal with. But, he always had something going on. He was not regulating at all. And so we were exhausted and didn't know what to do with him until he probably was about a year and a half. He had very explosive behavior.
Mhm.
He would get angry very, very quickly. And, he showed a lot of signs of being on the spectrum.
Mhm.
We had our second child. We had, and it was about 2 years apart. And I would find myself having to put my baby in another room when my oldest would get out of control. I'd have to protect the infant. He was also a runner, and
Mm.
he would run away at the drop of a hat. And I remember bringing them out to Bertucci's, and my youngest was in his carrier, and my oldest just bolted right to the highway.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to drop my son and go grab him, and this was a regular occurrence for us.
Yeah.
So, it was difficult to have my oldest have these behavioral issues with a newborn. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When he went into daycare, he was having a lot of trouble. My husband would have to go there and make him nap, which
Mm.
was very weird. I look back at it, and they were the daycare was just not like a great place for a child with my son's issues. He would bite. So we would get calls all the time to come pick him up. He bit another child. He bit a teacher. They finally kicked him out because he escaped.
Ugh.
He escaped
Oh,
the entire preschool.
oh my god.
So we
Oh.
brought him to a doctor, and she sat us down, and he was, drawing and stuff. And she's like, draw me a picture of a cat, because we had a cat. She's like, draw me a picture of your cat. And he drew the picture, and she looks at it and she's like, okay, so we need to get him a neuropsych. And I was
How
like,
old was he at this point?
he was 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, so what was this? And she showed us the picture, and I had no idea that this was a thing. He drew the cat's body parts all in different places.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, what does that mean? She's like, I just think you should probably just bring him for a neuropsych and see what they have to say, And by the end of the time, I know he had turned 4, and it was April 1st when we got the results from that neuropsych.
April Fool's Day.
And also World Autism Day.
Yes.
And we were told that he had Asperger's. Now, Asperger's was still a thing back in 2006 or 7. The DSM had not changed it. So we were absolutely shocked. We were thinking ADHD, that kind of thing, but we were absolutely stunned by that, what she had told us.
Yeah.
So we had him, and we had my younger son, who was the exact opposite still, again, like they're 2 entirely different children. And so we had to really get into figuring out what my son needed. We were living in a state that was not good with special education. They wanted to put him into an exclusive classroom, an excluded classroom. So when we went to visit that classroom, there were children that were nonverbal. There were children that were in wheelchairs that couldn't move, that kind of thing. And we were like, I don't think this is the right place for, our child. So we fought with the system for a while. And then we actually finally ended up moving to a totally different state and different town in order to get him the things that he needed. So that was going on. My youngest was going with the flow. And it's interesting because over the years, and I mean, we should probably jump back to me being this person who doesn't know how to parent because she was never taught to parent, right?
I was gonna say, like, I'm listening to this whole thing and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you're having to face your child's own dysregulation, and we're taught now, like, you have to regulate your emotions so that you can model that for your child. And I'm like, oh my gosh, though, you have so much going on within yourself and your own regulation needs. Like, how the heck were you able to balance that?
I went into the mode that I used to go into when I was a child, that I was the caregiver in everything, that I did not have a space for myself, that it was only the people around me who I loved that needed me. And so I completely went into that mode of, okay, what does everyone else need? My needs are absolutely insignificant. Everybody else needs me. And that included my children and my husband. So it was a lot. And I always call it, when people ask me when I can talk about these kind of things, these traumas, that I go into professor mode. That, they call it a DBT, they call it reason mind.
Yes.
So there's emotion mind and reason mind, and then there's wise mind. I was sitting in reason mind for 90% of the time, and then emotion mind would rear its ugly head randomly when I just couldn't take it anymore.
Right. Yeah,
right.
It's there.
Right.
It's going to show up.
Right, exactly. So, I would have blow-ups at times, or, I would, if my older son was having a, Tasmanian devil moment, I used to call it, where he'd rip everything apart, I would sit with my younger son in the bathroom and just cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would come out. And it was a long haul. My oldest, he's such a sweet guy. He's such a sweet guy now. He's 20 years old now. And looking back at it, there's so much of a difference. And I think that's because I was in reason mind most of the time, and making sure that his needs were taken care of. And, over the years, as he got older, he became suicidal. And so I had to deal with that whole aspect of things as well. This is when he was very young too. It was very, off-putting and striking that this child who, at 6 would say
Yeah.
that he didn't want to be alive. It was rough. So I'm looking at that happening to my child, and I had myself throughout the years gone through that when I was a child. So I'm like, what did I do to my child? Did I give my child this? Right? Blaming
Mm-hmm.
myself,
Yeah.
putting it all on me, that I was the person who obviously gave him all of these things. His autism, he also had the ADHD diagnosis as well, and this explosive behavior. What was it that I did as a mother? And that's because I wasn't taking care of myself. I
Well,
wasn't.
and you like you didn't do this to him.
Right,
Like,
right.
you didn't do this to him. And again, I think what's so powerful is even these circumstances that sound to somebody listening in, like, sound and are really big and really, really, like, life altering. The common thread here is we look to ourselves. What did I do?
Hmm.
We play that blame game, or I had another guest explain it as like the should storm. Like, well, I
Ooh.
should have done this, or I should have done that, or I shouldn't have done this. But in your case, like, holy crap, like, you were dealing with, you said Tasmanian devil. Like, it sounds like life was this cyclone of
Hmm.
just survival. No one was thriving. We were surviving.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's interesting, as my youngest is now 18, and it really affected him over the years more than I thought. I thought that I was protecting him in every way, shape, or form. But, as time goes on, children I'm sorry, siblings of kids with disorders and that kind of thing, they do have this, they have their own problems,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel as though they're not the ones that are being taken care of
Mm-hmm.
because, their mom is always constantly doing something for their, sibling.
And very early on, you mentioned you are a single parent. You're a
Mm.
single. When did that transition happen?
That happened. So I ended up having 2 back surgeries that
Okay.
left me with so much pain. And during that time, I wasn't able to really take care of the kids physically. And, I think my husband, after we had kids, he realized he wasn't the most important person in the room.
Mm.
Right. And I think that happens
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of families. And that wasn't working out for him. It wasn't feeling so
Mm-hmm.
good. So he was kind of doing things that I was asking him not to do. A lot of financial issues that we had until I finally said, I think my youngest was 3. I finally said, this has to end. You're not going to stop unless I leave you. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, we broke up, and we from the very beginning had said the kids are always the most important thing. So we co-parented well.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we did. And, there was a relief to it, though, that I was more in control
Yeah.
of the circumstances once I was able to move us away from the I don't want to say problem, but it was the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
it allowed you, I think, that kind of like took one thing off of your plate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a therapist together, and this was when I knew I couldn't stay with him. The therapist said to me, "Well, why don't you ask him where he is and then drive over to make sure he's there?" And I was like, "I have 2 little kids. I don't need a third one." Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the breaking point for me, was like, "You therapist, Mr. Therapist, you just proved it to me. I think it's time for us to split."
Yeah. Yeah. So in one way it's taking that a little piece of that mental load off of you. You're a caregiver for one less person.
Mhm,
But then on the other hand too, now you're navigating this really tricky situation with both of your kids and your own mental health on your own.
mhm.
did you have any kind of a support network that you could lean into?
So I started going back to therapy around the time that I was thinking I was going to leave my husband.
Okay.
So I had started therapy again, trying to give myself a little bit of time for
Yeah.
myself, right? You know, a little bit of
Yeah.
time, a little energy towards myself, which
But everyone's like, "Oh, self-care, take a bath, go to therapy." It's like, "No, those are necessary things."
right,
Like, yeah.
exactly. You know, you need that. You need that care. And, you know, I had to go into full-time work. And, you know, luckily I was able to get a job with a doctor that I'd known for years and years and years. So he was very good about letting me go to pick them up from school. And, you know, so I was lucky in that sense. But yeah, it was tricky. It was definitely tricky being a single mom. But you know, again, we co-parented well. He understood what he needed to do, and you know, we always tried to make sure that the kids didn't feel that the brunt of a breakup. And
Yeah.
he ended up moving into the same apartment complex.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so the boys were able to go back and forth however they wanted, whenever they wanted. They could go sleep at dad's if they wanted. They could sleep at mom's, you know, like we made it so that they were, you know, especially with my oldest because of his issues.
Yeah. Well, and consistency and routine are huge for anyone on the spectrum. So being able to see mom or dad whenever he wanted to or needed to was probably huge. So yeah, so you're carving out a little bit of time for yourself. You're going to therapy. You're trying to work on yourself. You're getting your oldest the supports that he needs, which any special needs or neurodiverse family out there knows it's not easy. It is like battle from day one to advocate for your kids.
Hmm.
So, wow, that's a lot. Where did Moody Monster show up in all of this?
Okay, yeah, I'll go down like the fast road. Okay, so
I know,
I'm going to go down the fast road here. So I ended up getting laid off by my job.
okay.
And I had some time to be able to figure out what I want to do. And I'd always wanted to be a stylist, a personal
Mm,
stylist. So I started getting into that. And it was fun. It was good. I really enjoyed it. It's again another giving experience. I'm giving
mhm.
people this, you know, ability to find the style that makes them feel the best, that kind of thing. A boutique came available in my town, and I ended up buying the boutique. But then that was also around the time where people started buying all their stuff online.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it really just didn't work out. And 4 years later, I had to close the shop and go into bankruptcy. And
Mm,
that is when my brain broke.
mhm.
I had lost a piece of my identity. I was in bankruptcy. I was, you know, I was having the brain fog. I was having the tiredness. I was having really a hard time with any of my interpersonal relationships, you know, and my brain said at that point, right now, this is when you
Yeah.
need to do this. And so that is when I started to put together my team. I said, okay, I need a therapist. And luckily, my son had a lot of great, so he ended up being under the Department of Mental Health.
Okay.
Long story short, he ended up, his diagnosis of autism ended up getting taken away. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. He had gone into a bunch of different hospitals for the suicidality.
yeah.
And finally, you know, we ended up getting an advocate after all these years of me like working really hard. We got an advocate, and she's like, okay, we're going to get him a new neuropsych. And if he's autistic, we can't get him into the Department of Mental Health. We're going to have to think of something else. And so, okay, I wanted him to be in the Department of Mental Health so he could get all of these, you know, therapies, the group therapy, everything that we needed, the in-home therapies. But when he had the neuropsych, he was like, he's not autistic. He
Wow.
has major depressive disorder, which is what I have,
Yep.
and severe ADHD.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
And
old
this was
was
when
he
he
at
was,
that point?
I think he was 14 at that point. And I had had two other neuropsychs before that. And I think I don't know. I don't know why we had had such different experiences with that, because the first one, when he was 4, that was the one that blew us away, right? We're like, he's not
Right.
autistic. Like, what is this all about? But in my state, autism diagnosis comes with a lot of, like medical help.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the years, I'd accepted that help that he was, he has an autism diagnosis, and these are all the things that we can get. And I got him every single thing we could possibly get: OT, PT, all those kind of things. And so all along, I was just assuming, okay, these are the things that he needs. And when he went and got this neuropsych again, they were like, he's not autistic.
Mm.
Yeah, it was very odd. And
Yeah.
but you know what? I'm glad of that diagnosis because we were able to get him all these other things like the OT, the therapies. We were able to get those. So I was like, okay, so what do we do now? And the advocate was like, he can get into the Department of Mental Health. So he got into that, and that came with an amazing social worker, an amazing therapist, a family therapist, in-home care. It was amazing. And when I had my big not yet moment, the social worker was fantastic. She's like, look, I know this therapist who is absolutely amazing with complex PTSD and trauma and all these kind of things. And she got me in to see her. And I'm an older woman. I'm an older woman. And my therapist, the therapist she introduced me to, was much younger than me.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't know if this tyke is gonna be able to help me. I'm much older. She couldn't possibly help me. But I will say this to anyone who has that feeling that, somebody may not have the ability to help you because of age. She had all of the new modalities that she had
Mm-hmm.
learned that older therapists don't know. And so she's the most amazing therapist for me. Like we
Yeah.
clicked immediately and it was wonderful. So I highly recommend people, if somebody is, somebody tells you that this is the right person for you, definitely take a chance on it. Because if I didn't,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be where I am now.
Are you still seeing her?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She is my like rock.
Yeah.
I adore her.
Oh, I love
And
that.
yeah. And you know what? And I decided I need to figure out what's going on with my medications. I wasn't sleeping, that kind of thing. So I went inpatient.
Okay.
Yeah, I went inpatient, and I am lucky to be living by the one of the biggest mental health hospitals in the country. And so I went inpatient and got my medications figured out,
Mm-hmm.
and then started group therapy. And group therapy, when I was a kid, I hated.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated. Like, why do I have to sit with these other kids who don't want to be here? This is ridiculous. But as an adult, it was amazing. It's like,
Yeah.
these people are my people. You know,
Yeah.
these people know what I'm going through. And that was another amazing opportunity that I took. And so I think it's really important for someone who is going through these kind of issues in their life that they haven't gone on the healing journey. It's really important to get a team together
Yes.
because this
Yes.
team can help you through different parts of your life.
Mm-hmm. And several things that you talked about like stuck out to me. One of the things that you keep saying is literally like one of your social media handles, the not yet to right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like you keep saying it and I'm like, oh, now I get it. But it reiterates that like we drill it into parents, especially like you need to take care of yourself or you're not going to be able to take care of your kids. And we're always like, well, when am I supposed to take care of myself?
Right?
When is that supposed to happen? It's like, not right now, not right now. No, I got to do this right now. And I think for you and your journey, it sounds like your kids were a little bit older at this point when
Yes.
that transition happened. But like there needs to come a day where you say right now, and it has to be right now. Otherwise, I can't take care of my family or I can't take care of myself. The other thing that I'm so glad that you brought up is that talking about going inpatient, there is so much stigma around that. And there's so much misinformation. And I think a lot of that stems from, like you said, like the state that you live in impacts what kind of care you're going to get and things like that. Every facility is so different, and everyone's experiences inpatient are so different. But if that's a step that you need to take to build that team around you, there is zero shame in that. There is
None.
none whatsoever. And if it's
Please.
not working, then you go somewhere else
Mm-hmm.
and you see someone else. This is not my time. This is not my story, but I was inpatient 3 times in
Mm-hmm.
3 separate places. All 3 were horrible. Intensive, partial hospitalization is what saved my life. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, moral of the story there is keep going.
Yes.
Keep trying and making those decisions that are not easy. They're hard decisions to make, because just like you're like, I got a family. I got a
Mm-hmm.
family I got to take care of. I got a kid who has really complex needs that I got to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you can't take care of any of that if you can't function.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm
Exactly.
so glad that you shared that with me and with our listeners, because there is no shame.
No, no, none at
No
all.
shame.
Please, please.
Mm-mm.
I have had multiple inpatient experiences as well. When you need it, you need it.
Yeah. It's
You,
just like it's just like if you need an operation, or it's just like if you are super, super sick and you have to go, like, it's your mental health is health.
mhm,
So, yeah, you do it.
do it.
If you
Please
need
do
it,
it.
do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So yeah, so I built
yeah,
my team.
you
So
built your
I built my
team.
team, and group therapy was one of the big ways for me to cope. I still do group therapy. We don't do it in person anymore. We do it all on Zoom, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a big part for me. It's a necessary thing to have others around you that understand exactly what your brain is going through, because they also are going through it.
Yeah.
And during one of those therapy sessions, I was really, really frustrated with my symptoms. And I said, I wish I had a monster that I could just rip apart, throw across
Mm.
the room, bang against the walls, some of the people in it were like, yeah, you should have that. They're like, that sounds actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I went home and I thought about it. And I'm not a seamstress. I'm not a tailor in any way, shape, or form. I went out, I bought a sewing machine and a lot of different fabrics, just like the ones that you go to Julian Fabrics and they have them all over the place and you just grab
Yeah.
some, right? I just
Yeah.
grabbed a bunch, it filled a bag with them and brought them home. And, I created this like ragtag plush monster doll, but I made the head, the arms, and the legs out of Velcro so that I could
Mm-hmm.
rip them apart. And
Oh,
that
I
was
love it.
the genesis of Moody. His name
Yeah.
was PTSD Pete.
PTSD Pete. Oh my God. I love it. I love it so much. Oh my God.
That was his first name.
Oh my God. Moody version 1, PTSD Pete.
Yep. You could probably tell I love alliteration because it's like PTSD
Yeah.
Pete, my Moody Monster.
Yeah.
My company name is Phoenix Freed. I just do
Yes.
everything.
No, I mean, Quiet Connection. Like,
Mhm.
I'm pretty much into this. I really like that kind of thing. So I get it. Oh my gosh, I love that. And that must have been so cathartic
It
to just
was.
create something tangible.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I should send you the first picture.
You should. I'll put it in the promo. Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's so bad. I actually ended up gluing teeth on him. It
I
was
love it.
crazy. He was crazy looking.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. So how did PTSD Pete become Moody?
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was I went to the SBA, the Small Business Association, and met with
Yeah.
someone there, and they were like, you need to get into this program. So in Massachusetts, there's this nonprofit group called E4All, Entrepreneurship for All. And this was during COVID. So COVID just started after I developed Pete.
Mm.
And so they had this, accelerator program during the summer. And I was lucky enough to get into the accelerator program and spent that whole summer of COVID developing Moody. It was amazing. You
Yeah.
get these mentors, you have a cohort of all different people, and it's an incredible group. I highly recommend people who are looking to start businesses or need help with their business to look for an entrepreneurial nonprofit in your state because it's extremely helpful. And that's where
Yeah.
I was able to develop Moody and all the things that come with Moody and who I wanted Moody to be for. I had all these ideas of different monsters for different, diagnoses, like
Mm-hmm.
ADHD Annie and
Oh
bipolar
my God.
bipolar Betty.
Oh my God. I love it so much.
I love it
Anxiety
too.
Annie. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So, I started out that way, but soon realized that in manufacturing, you have to buy a bulk of a certain product. You can't
Mm-hmm.
buy 50 of one and 50 of another of these. I ended up, having to buy, my first batch, I ended up doing 50 because I was testing them with
Mm-hmm.
families and therapists and teachers and sold out of them really quickly. And I just finished ordering 500 dolls now. So I've got
Wow.
500 of these Moody's coming and I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh.
I got the funding and am able to, they're going to be shipping out from the manufacturer very soon. I'm so excited.
Oh, so explain to my listeners a little bit
Yes.
because we know what Moody means to you and we know how Moody was born. What is Moody intended for families? Like, how is Moody intended to be utilized by families?
So I started out this journey thinking, okay, the kids are going to love to be able to rip Moody apart. And I think that's the greatest way because they can rip them apart in a safe way. They can get all
Yes.
those emotions out. But I quickly realized that the best part about Moody is putting them back together again.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives parents a chance to communicate with their children about their emotions. You can sit down, start to put Moody back together again and say, what happened? What can we do next time to help you with those big frustrations? And it can help children to build their own emotion toolbox, which we all need.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell a lot of parents, you also need to build your toolbox, right? We all
Yeah.
need to build our toolboxes. And so Moody has been a great communication tool. They're also really great children with autism adore Moody because of
Mm-hmm.
the different feelings and the sounds of the ripping of the Velcro. It took me
Mm-hmm.
3 years to find the stickiest Velcro I
The
could
perfect
possibly. Yep.
Velcro.
Yep.
Yep.
Like the one that you can hear it,
Yep.
and so Moody has been great for families of children too, not just like one child, but he's also been really helpful for children to communicate with each other as well,
Mm-hmm.
siblings. And that's really a needed thing as well, because children are developing empathy that way. Their parents are telling them, you seem really upset here. Why don't you use Moody? And then those kids are turning to their siblings when their siblings are upset and saying, here, why don't you use Moody?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
communication's been key with him. And it's, how I said that my love language is giving. It
Yes.
just blows my heart up every time I hear a parent tell me how, their children are not only getting out their emotions with Moody, but are also learning empathy.
Yeah. I think that again, so like I said, like Moody drew me in initially, obviously. And then I don't really research my guests because I really want to get to know you authentically. But what I will say is I love the idea of Moody for so many reasons. I love, especially learning through talking to you right now, that it was part of your healing journey, and a healing journey is ongoing. I don't
Mhm.
think we ever like reach a finish line. I don't think that exists.
People have said to me, you're not done with your healing journey. I'm like, I won't ever be. I
No.
mean, a healing journey is that roller coaster that you're on. And, if people ask me, I said, well, I'm halfway through my journey. And then 10 years from now, I'll probably say I'm halfway through the journey. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's not a game board.
Nope.
You're not gonna reach the finish line, but you are. It's gonna like ebb and flow, like the
Mhm.
game of life. Like you're gonna hit you're gonna win the lottery one week, and then the next week your car is gonna break down and you owe whatever. But like I love that it played such a unique role in your healing journey and gave you something tangible. I love the idea of, so I guess to give this context, something we say in our family, because I have neurodivergent kids and me and my husband are both neurodivergent. We always say like it's okay to have big feelings, but those big feelings cannot hurt other people.
Mhm.
That's what's not okay. And to have something tangible where you can put those big feelings and let it out, and then like you said afterwards putting it back together and doing the repair work and doing the communication and being like, okay, wow, that was big.
Mhm.
Where did that come from?
Mhm.
What can we do about it? I absolutely love that. And my special educator brain just loves it too. Like I already have a list of my former coworkers that I'm like, you need to order a Moody Monster. You need to order a Moody Monster. Like I know exactly who could use this. Or like
Yeah, teachers are having a great time with them because they put them in their safe space for kids, and they can
yes.
go in and they can do what they need to with Moody and then go back and join the group again.
Yes. Yes. It's yeah. I think it's safe to say I'm slightly obsessed.
Aw.
Um but kind of to like tie it back to your story, and where I think that it's going to resonate for a lot of my listeners is like, yeah, your story is unique. Your story is unique. You experienced trauma early in your life. You experienced trauma in the transition into motherhood, and you
Mhm.
experienced trauma in parenting a child with complex needs and also trying to navigate your own needs. But those things don't define you. They don't mean that you had it like anyone who's like, "Oh, well my baby just doesn't sleep," or like, "Oh, well I'm just having intrusive thoughts." It's like we are all experiencing something and it's all valid
Mhm.
and we are all worthy of support so that you can continue on that journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all emotions are valid,
All
right?
emotions are valid. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
while I was waiting for Moody, getting a prototype, that kind of thing, I knew I had to do something else. So I started to do these Moody talks where every month I would pick an emotion and I'd, give coping skills each week
Yeah.
to help with those emotions. And, as a parent, I think that a lot of parents don't realize that they weren't allowed to use their own feelings, right?
Yes.
I know I wasn't, my generation definitely wasn't. We were told to squish them down, that kind of thing. And I think it's important that parents understand that they have to put the oxygen mask on before their
Yep.
kids.
Yep.
And that
That's the
means, yeah.
that's the analogy that's used a lot and everyone kind of laughs it off, but it is so accurate.
Mhm.
It's
And
so accurate.
your emotions are just as important as your child's.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we are jiving.
Mhm.
We
No,
are on the same
absolutely.
wavelength
Yep.
here. Because yeah, like your kids are going, it doesn't matter if you have a kid with complex needs or if you have a neurotypical kid, your kids are going to have big emotions
Mhm.
and they're going to bring out big emotions in you. And especially if you have things within you that you haven't confronted,
Mhm.
they may not come out the way you want them to.
Yep.
Um but that doesn't make you a bad parent, it doesn't make you a bad person.
Mm.
It's the communication and the acceptance of like it's okay for us to feel what we're feeling
Mhm.
and where do we go from here. It's like therapy hour. I'm not a therapist.
I'm not either, but I've done
Yeah,
enough of it.
I know. I was gonna say I've been through enough. Like I've done enough cognitive behavioral therapy
Yep.
and dialectical behavioral therapy, and I've
Mhm.
worked with so many therapists that again. So like, what I'm saying is not medical advice, but experience as a parent and experience. Like I have a 2-year-old right now. I have a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Wow.
So one's going through puberty and one is terrible twos.
Yep.
I have 2 kids who can't control their emotions, and I'm neurodiverse and chronically ill. So like our home is chaotic. I am not sitting here speaking as like I'm the expert. I am calm and this is how you should do it. But acknowledging that like it's okay. It's okay. And like Jen is saying, there is a path forward. There is a path forward, and there are brighter days ahead.
Yes. Hey, I got through all of the years. I am testament that I have a 20 and an 18-year-old and they're still alive.
Yep.
You know, we went through
even
a lot.
when one of them truly did not want to be.
Yep. And you know, we were bouncing back and forth, you know, throughout the years, you know, with different issues, with different problems, but we made it, and you'll make it.
Yeah. Yes. You will make, no matter what it is. If you're not sleeping, it's not forever.
Nope.
If you're having trouble breastfeeding, it's not forever.
Nope.
If you're navigating a new diagnosis, it's not forever. That is one of my mantras, is it's not forever.
It's a good mantra.
I've got a lot of them and I use them all. So I feel like this is a beautiful full circle moment. Like, and I truly feel so honored to have been able to help you share your story and to have heard your story, even just a part of it. I always end on one of 2 questions, and I use our time together to help me decide which question that's going to be. And I think I'm going to use one I haven't used in a while.
Ooh.
It's not that exciting, but if you could go back in time before you had kids, before you were even considering getting pregnant, you can't tell yourself anything about what your life is going to look like. It's not like if you could go back in time and change one thing. It's not that. If there's something you could instill within yourself to help you navigate that path that you were about to walk, what would you instill within yourself?
Stop catastrophizing.
There's DBT right there for you.
Stop thinking that everything is going to go wrong, that everything you're doing is wrong, right?
Yeah.
That this is life, and life is imperfect, and not everything is going to end in a catastrophe. Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is, "Life and love are messy most of the time." It's from a song from Carbon Leaf. If you look up Carbon Leaf, they're great. Anyway, I love that. I catastrophize everything. Oh my God.
I still do. I'm working on it. I still do.
Right? See,
this
is real. This is real. It's the healing journey is a journey, and you're going to use the tools in your toolbox. And here's a new tool for your toolbox. Stop catastrophizing.
Yes. It's like a really major point, because a lot of people do. A lot of people with trauma do. And I think that if we can teach ourselves to step back from that, everything is awful and everything's going wrong. If we can step back and find maybe 1 or 2 things that are going right.
Exactly.
You know, I think that it helps. It's not going to change your catastrophizing, because that's kind of inset into your neurons, but maybe it'll help you to pause and breathe a little throughout the catastrophizing.
Yeah. One of the DBT skills, and again, not a mental health professional, but is called the what's not wrong exercise. And so when you're in that moment where you're like, oh my God, this is falling apart. So this is going to fall apart. And then this is going to fall apart. You're like, okay, wait, here I am right now. What's not wrong? Right now, I'm with Jen and I'm having a great conversation and I'm laughing and my house is warm and I've got water, like that kind of thing. Like it does not mean like, oh, my life is great and I should just be thankful. Like
it's not
just
that.
be like, no, not at all. What is going right now?
Right.
So anyway, we could do a whole episode on DBT.
Oh, 100%. That's my jam.
It has become my jam, among other things. But yeah, I just thank you so much. This was such an easy conversation. I loved getting to know you better. I loved getting to learn about your kids and Moody, and I can't wait to share Moody with my listeners. Where can my listeners find you if they'd like to learn more about you?
Yes, absolutely. So they can find me at mymoodymonster.com, and that has all the information for Moody. And there's also, so one of my social missions is to give Moody's to kids in trauma, in traumatic
Mm,
events. So to first responders, social workers, and treatment centers. So you can also donate a Moody to that cause. And you can find me on YouTube. I have a channel, My Moody Monster, and it has the Moody Talks that I had talked about earlier, which are all the DBT skills that I've learned and I love.
yeah.
And then I also have Moody Storytime about books with big feelings that me and Moody read. And there's a ton of them on there. And what else? I'm on the handles as my Moody Monster on
Yep.
social media.
Yep.
So that's where
And
you can find me.
it'll all be tagged in the show notes. So listeners, I know we don't always check the show notes, but check the show notes.
Hmm.
Um, and you can learn more about Jen. And yes, just thank you so much I'm so glad that we were finally able to do
Me
this.
too. Oh, it was such a great conversation.
Jen, thank you so much for an incredible conversation. I feel so honored to share your story with my listeners, and I'm so excited to see where your journey with Moody takes you. Listeners, please check the show notes to learn more about Jen and what you can do to help Moody find a home wherever he is needed. You can keep up with us on Quiet Connection by following us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Quiet Connection Podcast. You can help our community grow by leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and consider sharing our episodes on social media. To share your personal journey, you can contact us through our website at quietconnectionpodcast.com or by email at quietconnectionppmh@gmail.com. Join us next time when another story is told and you realize you are not alone. I see you.